I refused my aunt's outrageous request, but she manipulated my husband into leaving me. I later found out he had been having an affair with her. I, 28, have been married to my spouse, Adam, 30M, for 3 years. We had our ups and downs, as any marriage does, but I thought we were relatively stable. That is why the entire situation has taken me entirely by surprise, and I am now wondering whether I am somehow responsible for this catastrophe. My aunt, let us call her Natalie, has always been strange, to say the least. Growing up, she was the type of person who would perform a favor for you just to hold it over your head for the rest of your life. As a child, I remember her as an overbearing presence, always talking about how much she had done for everyone and how much they owed her. It was simply her method of retaining control. She is known in the family for being manipulative, but I never expected to get caught up in her games, especially not like this. Years ago, when I was younger, about 18 or 19, I was going through a difficult financial period. My parents were not present at the time, and I had recently moved out on my own, scraping by on part-time jobs and figuring things out. It was a terrible moment, and Natalie came through for me in ways that I sincerely appreciated at the time. She lent me some money, not a lot, but enough to get me through a couple of months until I could get back on my feet. I thanked her politely and eventually paid her back in full. I assumed that was the end of it, and for years it appeared to be. She never brought it up or stated that I owed her anything, so I believe that was all in the past. Fast forward to now, and Natalie has a daughter. Let's call her Grace. Grace and I were never close growing up. She is a few years younger than me, but we have always been in separate social circles. The reality is that we've never really liked each other. She has always been the spoiled, entitled type, getting everything she wants because Natalie always puts her first. Grace commands the spotlight at family gatherings. During the holidays, Grace receives the greatest gifts, the most praise, everything. I've learned to overlook it over time because that's how Natalie operates. She adores her daughter as if she were a princess, and the rest of us are expected to be grateful simply to be in their company. So Grace's birthday is coming up. Natalie has been hinting for weeks that her daughter's birthday should be exceptional, and that she wants to offer her everything. At first, I didn't think much of it because Grace's birthday isn't exactly on my radar. When Natalie suggested it, I was nice and replied something like, "Oh, that sounds great." But I wasn't really paying attention. Then, out of nowhere, Natalie phones me one evening and says she has to speak with me about something serious. I assumed it was for Grace's birthday or a family event, so I agreed to meet up with her. When we met, Natalie made the most odd and absurd request I've ever heard. She told me straight out that the only thing Grace wants for her birthday is for me to leave my husband, Adam. I was stunned. Like, what? Why? Why would she even think about that? Natalie went on to say that Grace has had a crush on Adam for years, something I had no idea about, and that she believes he is her soulmate or something. According to Natalie, Grace has been longing for him since the day they met, and now that she is about to turn 26, she believes this is her final chance to be with him. She truly believes Adam belongs with her, and that I am preventing them from being happy together. At first, I assumed this was a joke. Natalie couldn't possibly expect me to leave my spouse as a birthday present for her daughter. But as she continued speaking, I understood she was dead serious. She even brought up the money she lent me years ago, claiming that I owed her and that this was the best way to repay her. According to Natalie, if I were truly grateful for her assistance when I was struggling, I would do this for her daughter. I was extremely shocked. I couldn't believe what I heard. Of course, I said no. I was not going to end my marriage over an absurd demand from my aunt. I informed Natalie that this was preposterous, that I would never abandon Adam, and that I owed her nothing. I had reimbursed her for the money, and whatever favor she believed she had done for me gave her no right to demand this. She didn't take it well. Natalie got angry and accused me of being ungrateful and self-centered. She went on and on about how Grace deserved happiness, how she had made many sacrifices for me over the years, and how I was ruining everything by refusing to see reason. I walked out of that conversation exhausted, but convinced that I had done the right thing. I was not going to allow her to influence me like that. I didn't give it much thought after that, but a few days later, things started to change between me and Adam. He grew aloof and colder than normal. When I asked him what was wrong, he just brushed me off. I assumed he was upset at work or something, but then he sat me down and announced that he was leaving me. He didn't go into great detail, just expressing that things weren't going well and that he thought it was time for us to part ways. I was devastated. This came out of nowhere, and I had no idea what had happened so fast. It wasn't until a mutual buddy contacted me that I learned what had transpired. Natalie allegedly went behind my back after our talk and told Adam everything, but she twisted the tale so that it appeared I was to blame. She informed Adam that I had been ungrateful for everything she had done for me, that I had no regard for family, and that I had been keeping secrets from him. She even made up stories about how distant and cold I had been with Adam, twisting the situation to make it look that I was the problem in our marriage. According to what I've heard, she convinced him that I wasn't telling him the truth, which pushed him over the line. So now I'm attempting to pick up the pieces of my life after my spouse abandoned me due to my manipulative aunt. Part of me wonders whether there was already something wrong with our marriage, and this was the final straw. Maybe I missed some signs. Maybe I wasn't as good a wife as I thought. But another part of me is outraged. How could Natalie have done this to me? How could she go behind my back and destroy my marriage simply because I refused to give her what she wanted? And why did Adam believe her so quickly? Shouldn't he have trusted me enough to at least discuss it with me before making such a big decision? I'm so confused and hurt right now, and I don't know what to do. My family is divided on the issue, with some saying I should have simply let it go, and others agreeing Natalie is out of line. But the reality is, I don't think this is just about Natalie anymore. I believe there is a greater issue at play, such as Adam searching for an out and seeing this as the perfect reason. I'm not sure whether I'm overreacting, but I can't shake the sensation that this entire thing is somehow my responsibility. Perhaps if I had handled things differently with Natalie and paid more attention to Adam's needs, none of this would have occurred. But at the same time, I feel as if I was backed into a corner and would have lost regardless of what I did. So I die for refusing my aunt's foolish request to leave my husband as a birthday present for her daughter. Am I to blame for my husband leaving because of what she told him? I just need some feedback on this because everything seems to be spiraling out of control right now, and I'm not sure where to turn. Update 1. Hello, everyone. It's been a few weeks since my life totally crumbled, and I'm still trying to figure out how to go on from what occurred with my aunt, Natalie, and my husband Adam. Things have been difficult to process. I never thought I'd be providing an update, yet here I am, trying to make sense of it all. At first, I assumed it was all due to Natalie's intervention, but considering everything that has transpired since, I'm beginning to wonder if there was something else going on between Adam and me. Something I missed. I've been trying to piece it all together, and I keep coming back to the same question. Was this previously broken, and I simply didn't realize it? When Adam told me he was leaving, he didn't give me much detail. He merely told me that things were not going well, and that he thought it was time to part ways. There was no big struggle or explosion. It was just over. I was heartbroken and puzzled. I assumed we were secure, or as secure as any marriage with ups and downs. Everything felt like it happened out of nowhere. After sitting with my thoughts and feelings for a few days, I decided to contact Adam. I wasn't willing to give up without at least discussing it. I texted him, asking if we could meet up and discuss what had transpired. I didn't get an answer straight away, and I spent the following 3 days in limbo waiting for a response. Finally, Adam responded back, indicating he was not interested in chatting and that he had made his decision. I was devastated. It was as if he had closed the door on everything without thinking. However, this was not the worst part. He also told me he was already seeing someone else. Mind you, it hadn't even been a month since he left me when I discovered how quickly he had moved on. My world came apart. Was this someone he had been seeing before our breakup? Was I so blind that I didn't notice him drifting away sooner? I didn't ask him any of these questions because, frankly, I didn't want to know the answers. It felt like everything we had was erased in the blink of an eye. It's impossible to convey the range of emotions. I've been feeling anger, betrayal, confusion. It's all coming together. How did he manage to move on so quickly? How could he be so willing to let go of what we've accomplished? I'm wondering if this new relationship started before he left, or if there were issues in our marriage that I simply overlooked. I've been looking over every discussion we've had in the last few months to see if there were any red signals I overlooked. Nothing stands out. We had our regular fights, nothing major, and I never anticipated things to fall apart so quickly. Maybe I was too preoccupied with my own life and missed the signs that he was drifting away. But I also wonder if Adam had been looking for an escape all along, and Natalie's manipulation was just the excuse he needed. My family is divided on the whole issue. Some people say I should have let it go to prevent the conflict with Natalie. Others agree that Natalie was completely out of line, and that I made the perfect decision by refusing her. However, in the end, none of this matters. The damage is done. Adam is gone, and I'm forced to figure out how to restart my life now that he's moved on with someone else. I haven't spoken with Natalie or Grace since everything went down. They are no longer a part of my life, and I am grateful not to be exposed to their toxic energy. The thought that Natalie could go behind my back, influence Adam, and essentially ruin my marriage still baffles me. But I recognize that there's no sense in attempting to undo what happened. What's done is done, and I need to go on. I'm going to be honest. I believe Adam is seeing Grace. I mean, it just makes sense that Natalie wanted me to end my marriage so Grace and Adam could be together. So perhaps that is what is happening. I don't know, but I want to find out. Regarding Adam, I wish I could say I'm over it, but I am not. I still love him, and I probably always will. But I know our marriage is over. He has moved on, and it is now my turn to do the same. It will take time for me to recover from this, and there are days when the pain is terrible. But I want to get past it someday. Update 2. Hello everyone. First and foremost, thank you so much for all of your support, guidance, and kind words on my last post. I never anticipated so many people to care about my predicament, and it has meant everything to me. Before I begin the update, I'd like to address something that many of you mentioned. Many people suspected Adam was seeing Grace, and to be honest, I was beginning to believe it as well. Natalie had pushed me so hard to leave Adam for Grace's sake, and the way things turned out convinced me that there was something between them. Why would she make such a foolish request? I couldn't believe my aunt would ask me to leave my husband as a birthday present for her daughter if Adam and Grace weren't already dating. That's when things took an unexpected and really distressing turn. About 2 weeks ago, I got a message from Stephen, my aunt Natalie's husband and Grace's father. I hadn't spoken to him in a long time, especially after things had gone bad, but he pleaded to meet in person, claiming he had something vital to tell me. Given how crazy things had already become, I was doubtful at first. I didn't want to get engaged in any more family drama, especially after what happened to Natalie and Grace. But something about Stephen's tone made me want to hear him out, so I agreed to meet up. When we met, Stephen appeared tired, as if the weight of the world was on his shoulders. I knew straight away that whatever he had to say would not be easy. He began by apologizing for Natalie, Grace, and all that had occurred. I had no idea where he was going with this, but then he revealed something unexpected. Adam was not seeing Grace. He was seeing Natalie. Yes, it's my aunt, Natalie. My manipulative and toxic aunt is 50 years old. I was speechless. My mind went blank as I tried to figure out what he was saying. For a brief moment, I believed I had misheard him. But Stephen went on to recount everything in horrific detail. Natalie and Adam appeared to have been having an affair for some months. Stephen discovered it when he returned home early from a business trip one weekend. He walked into their house, into his bedroom, and found Natalie and Adam in bed together. My spouse and aunt in their bed. Stephen admitted he had no idea how long it had been going on, but based on some of the texts and messages he discovered, it had been at least a few months, if not more. Natalie had been seeing Adam behind my back as she pressed me to leave him for Grace. The whole birthday present foolishness was just a distraction, a ruse to deceive me and everyone else, while she secretly had an affair with my husband. I felt as if the ground had been pulled out from beneath me. I thought I was prepared for anything, but this exceeded my expectations. I was having trouble understanding what Stephen was saying. Natalie, among other persons. I knew she was manipulative, but I didn't expect her to do this. And Adam, the man I thought I knew and had built a life with, had he been sneaking around with my aunt the entire time? But it didn't end there. Stephen went on to inform me that Natalie had decided to leave him. Natalie intended to leave Stephen on Grace's birthday, and she and Adam were apparently planning to blow everything up. Yes, you have read right. She planned to devastate her own family on her daughter's birthday, before fleeing with my husband. Grace was completely oblivious of all of this, which was just another layer of deception. Natalie had used her daughter as a pawn in this horrible, twisted game, fooling everyone into believing Grace had affections for Adam while, in reality, she was sleeping with him. Stephen informed me about it, and I sat there startled. I was unsure how to react. I had been concentrating all of my efforts on determining whether Adam was seeing Grace, when, in fact, Natalie, my own aunt, had misled me in the worst conceivable way. After Stephen finished telling me everything, he handed me his phone and showed me some of the messages between Natalie and Adam. I couldn't look at them for long because it was too painful. The way they talked about me, their plans, and how they were going to start over after the dust had fallen. It made me physically ill. I still can't believe it. I spent weeks trying to believe that Adam could have feelings for Grace, but now this. This was beyond anything I could have anticipated. Natalie had planned the entire affair from the beginning. She misled me and her own spouse, while secretly having an affair with my husband. I've been trying to figure out where I should go next, but I'm still in shock. I thought I was dealing with a husband who left me for another woman, but now I'm having to accept the fact that he left me for my aunt, whom I considered family. I'm not sure if they're still seeing each other, or if their little scheme failed when Stephen caught them. Part of me doesn't care at this point. What is done is done. And regardless of what happens to them, the harm has already been done to me. I wish I could say there is a silver lining, but for the time being, all I can do is attempt to get through it. I'll keep you all updated if anything changes. But for the time being, I'm just figuring out how to move ahead after everything that's happened. Thank you for your continued support. It has been a lifeline during this horror. Update 3. Hello everyone, it's been a while since the last update, and a few things have happened in the interim. So perhaps this is the final update to the horror I've been experiencing. I faced Adam, and while the outcome was not what I had hoped for, it did provide some closure. I suppose I always knew I'd have to address him personally. I simply didn't expect it to be that dramatic, or for him to beg me to take him back after discovering Natalie wasn't who he thought she was. It's tough to understand how I felt leading up to that moment, but I knew I couldn't move on with my life unless I confronted Adam. I needed to express my feelings and get the complete truth from him. No more running or second guessing. So I finally reached out to him and told him we needed to meet and chat. We met in a park, somewhere neutral, where I felt I could keep my emotions under control. I did not want the confrontation to take place in our home, which had so many memories, both good and bad. I got to the park and finally saw him after so many days. It felt odd. He looked fatigued, as if he hadn't slept in days, but I didn't care enough to ask him what had occurred or why he was so tired. I just went right to it. I assured him I knew everything. I informed him that I knew about Natalie and that she was the lady he had been fooling around with while I sat at home, trusting and loving him. The shock on his expression was not the same as when someone is apprehended. It felt more like shame. He couldn't look me in the eye for a time. He did not defend himself, which shocked me because I had expected excuses or an attempt to cover up. Instead, he simply nodded and confessed it. He verified everything. In some ways, it felt underwhelming. There was no rage or screaming, just a pitiful admission that he had damaged our marriage by having an affair. I had a lot I wanted to say. I had spent hours rehearsing this in my thoughts, but when the moment arrived, all I could say was, why? I needed to know what was wrong with us or with me, that he would cheat on me like this. Adam began discussing how he was no longer pleased and how our marriage had become a routine. He mumbled something about being stuck, and Natalie helped him feel alive again. It felt like a punch in the belly. I couldn't believe he was using boredom as an excuse to wreck our lives. I stood there, feeling disgusted. I informed him immediately that his selfishness had cost him everything. There were many other methods for him to deal with his feelings of being stranded. We could have sought therapy, taken a break, and communicated, but he decided to cheat on me, lie to me, and end our marriage. And that's when I informed him. I informed him that I was filing for divorce. I shouted it clearly and without hesitation, and a strange sense of power came over me. For the first time, I felt in control. I wasn't pleading with him to stay, nor was I forgiving him for his horrible decisions. I was finished. That is when the unexpected happened. Adam, who had been so casual about the affair up until this point, suddenly broke down. I'd never seen him like this. He genuinely began crying. I'm not talking about a few tears. He sobbed. He grabbed my hands and begged me not to forward with the divorce. He explained that everything with Natalie had come apart, that she was not who he thought she was, and that he had made the biggest mistake of his life. He stated that once the excitement of their affair faded, her actual personality emerged. Apparently, she is manipulative and domineering, often starting conflicts and even threatening to reveal their affair if he did not do things her way. He claimed she had made his life a terrible nightmare, and he regretted everything. It was strange to stand there and see this man, who had before appeared unaffected, break down in front of me. He told me he felt adrift without me and couldn't believe he'd given up our life together for someone like Natalie. He stated that he still loved me and would do anything to make things right. But honestly, I didn't feel anything. I had no sympathy for him, no desire to reclaim him, and no pity for him because of Natalie's conduct. I felt numb. The trust was gone. He had damaged it, and no amount of tears or apologies would fix it. I informed him that it was too late. I informed him that there was no way to restore what he had done, and I was not interested in attempting to heal the damage to our marriage. I believe that's when he understood I was serious. I was not going to forgive him, and there was no way to make things right or get back together. He kept begging, attempting to persuade me that we could work this out, that he was willing to do whatever it needed. But I'd already made a decision. I informed him that I deserved better, that I was moving on with my life, and that we had no future together. I believe part of me was expecting him to become defensive or lash out, as he had done in the past when we battled. But this did not happen. Instead, he broke down even more, realizing he'd lost me forever. I departed after that. I walked away without looking back. I've already filed for divorce, and it feels like a great weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I'm not claiming it's been easy. I still find it difficult to breathe at times, because I am so heartbroken and deceived. But I know I made the correct decision. I know this is what I need to do to improve myself and start a new life. According to what I've heard, Natalie is furious with Adam for attempting to reconnect with me. Apparently, things between them worsened not long after the truth was revealed, and they are now both unhappy. Adam is paying the price for his decisions, and while I would never wish such chaos on anyone, I am no longer concerned. I don't care what happens between them. I'm just happy to be free of it. I've cut Natalie out of my life permanently. There is no forgiveness, no opportunity for reconciliation. I have no room in my heart for folks who betray me like way. She has left, and I am now focusing on myself. This has been the most difficult experience I have ever had, but it has taught me a lot about my own strength. I've discovered that I don't need someone who disrespects, lies, or cheats on me. I deserve a partner who appreciates me and our relationship, and I will never settle for anything less again. So that's it. I'm taking each day as it comes. It will take time to heal, but I am confident that I am on the correct path. Thank you to everyone who has offered me advice and support along the process. It mattered more than you could ever realize. I'm now ready to be done with this drama and move on with my life. I became the antagonist in my stepsister's drama after refusing to cut my brothers out of my life as she had demanded on her birthday. Out of my 4 siblings, I, 18F, am the youngest. Chris, 25 million, John, 27 million, and Michael, 28 million, are my 3 older brothers. My father, 53 million, and my brothers have been quite protective of me ever since our mother died when I was 8 years old. Among other things, I had movie nights with my brothers and father-daughter, date nights with my dad. I believe they did that to ensure I didn't feel alone. My father married Melissa, 45 degrees Fahrenheit, last year. She moved in with us along with her 18-foot-plus daughter, Ashley. I always felt that I was disliked by Ashley. She would converse with my brothers and father, but never with me. She would give me a brusque response and then turn away if I attempted to speak with her. After a few weeks of unsuccessfully attempting to get along with her, I gave up, even though I never understood why or whether I had done something to her. It was sufficient that we treated each other with civility. My brothers had conflicting feelings about her as well. She insisted on attending our movie nights, but even if none of us were interested, she would always insist on seeing a film she enjoyed. Additionally, she persisted in attempting to cuddle with my brothers, which made them uneasy and strange, as they didn't know her well. Because he didn't enjoy how touchy she was with him, Chris actually told her to stop. I recently turned 18, It was low-key and enjoyable, and I got some amazing presents. Ashley approached me the following day and complained that it was unjust because my brother's birthday presents to me were superior to those they gave her in June of last year. Since my brothers didn't really know her, they each gave her a $200 gift card to a different store so she could purchase the things she loved. To be polite, they handed her presents. My brother sent me a personalized planner with quotes and messages on every page, a signed copy of a whole book series I've been infatuated with, and a personalized perfume. Since they don't truly know her, I think it's reasonable that they give my gifts more thought. Ashley broke down in tears as she said, "I always get everything, and she get nothing." Then she insisted that I quit spending time with my brothers, saying that they would give her more attention if I did. She also asked me to inform them that since she was now their sister, they should treat her the same way they treated me. I assured her that I wouldn't make my brothers do anything against their will. She demanded that I call my brothers at that very moment to inform them that I would be spending less time with them and that they were to get her better presents. I declined. She must have told her friends and cousins since I've been receiving letters from them, accusing me of being a pampered, self-centered child. I'm questioning myself now. Recent update. Your recommendations and counsel are much valued. In case you missed it, I alerted my father and brothers about Ashley's actions. I did mention this in the comments. According to my father, they would speak with Ashley after he spoke with Melissa. We all spoke the following day. Ashley didn't deny anything, despite what we believed. At this point, she sounded like a broken record, as she simply reiterated everything she had told me. Because my boys and I were so close, my dad acknowledged that she might feel alienated, but he said it was inappropriate for her to harass me through her friends and family and demand that I spend less time with them. Melissa began to express regret for Ashley's actions. Ashley was simply struggling with the changes in her life, so she stated she hoped we could all forgive her even though she knew it was wrong. They did, initially, want a positive relationship with her, Michael said, but she could forget it if this was how she was going to treat me. My brothers also talked about how her being so touchy with them made them feel uneasy. When my father proposed therapy, Ashley screamed and refused. I believe my father had had enough at this point. He threatened to evict her from his home unless she resolved her problems and went to therapy. We all stopped talking after that. My dad responded in the affirmative when Melissa inquired if he was serious. He claimed to love her and care about Ashley, but he wouldn't tolerate bullying of his daughter in his own home. Ashley had a surprised expression. This must have been quite nearby college and stay at home to save money on rent. She began accusing me, approaching me, and even attempting to seize me. My brothers all stepped in between us right away. John told her isolated that even if her father was attempting to be nice, he would not act in that way. He went on to say that he would put her in jail before she could blink if she touched me. As an attorney, John made it apparent that this was no mere threat. Ashley took a step back and shut the door behind her as she made her way to her room. Ashley attended therapy the following day. At least she is leaving, even though I'm not sure if Melissa coerced her or if she didn't want to be expelled. I don't mind at all that she has been ignoring us for the past few days. Ashley began playing the sympathy card by texting my brothers the day she began therapy. They all obstructed her. I'm doing fine, personally. Everyone kind of forgot that I'm leaving for college in a few days because of this whole situation. My father and brothers are currently behaving irrationally and like mother hens. Whoa. Update 2. To put things in perspective, I am the youngest of 4 siblings. 18F. Chris, 25 million. John, 27 million. And Michael, 28 million, are my 3 brothers. When I was 8 years old, our mother died. My dad, 53 million, married Melissa, 45 last year, and she moved in with her daughter Ashley, 18, from a previous marriage. I wrote about Ashley hysterically making me quit spending time with my brothers because she wanted them to give her more attention barely a month ago. She constantly accused me of keeping her from connecting with my brothers and blamed me for everything. We all took a seat and spoke. I went to college, and Ashley went to treatment. However, I am aware that she still hates me. The present problem, I turned 18 a little more than a month ago. I received a pair of diamond earrings from my maternal grandparents as a family treasure. My mother used to own them, but she was unable to give them to me, so my grandma kept them until I became 18. In my room, I store them in a closed drawer. Melissa and Ashley attended a wedding yesterday. Melissa posted on Facebook, so I knew, until I noticed Ashley wearing a pair of earrings that I recognized from one of her articles. I didn't give it much thought. I knew right away that those were my earrings, even though I know it's wrong to make accusations without evidence. I notified my father and brothers over the phone before leaving for home. Melissa didn't trust me when I contacted her to explain the problem, because Ashley had informed her that she had borrowed the earrings from a friend. Upon arriving home, I discovered that the earrings were gone, and the drawer had been broken. We looked at the hallway security camera I had one place due to past incidents, and it captured Ashley entering my room and exiting a short while later. I was in a panic. Ashley received a call from my dad, demanding that she return my earrings. At first, she denied everything, but when he revealed that we had video footage, she defended herself by claiming that I wasn't using them, and that she had simply borrowed them. My dad was then barred by her. Melissa was also not picking up her phone. I was considering going to the wedding right away when my brothers, who were really tired of Ashley, proposed that we go to the police station and report her for stealing. At first, I was hesitant, but then I recalled that Ashley had stolen these earrings without my consent, which my mother had left for me. We displayed the security film, filed a report, and went to the station. Ashley was brought to the police station this morning to be questioned. Melissa and she remain at the station. Ashley's family has been calling and texting me to accuse me of being dramatic and embarrassing their family because a lot of the wedding guests witnessed the police officers. Update 3. I had no intention of updating after my initial post was locked, but I got a ton of messages requesting one and advising me to update my profile. Here it is. If you're still reading this, please be prepared for a lengthy read, because a lot happened. Let me start by answering the question that has been on everyone's mind. I did receive my earrings back. Their current location is far safer. Second, my brother handled most of the legal technicalities, so I am not fully aware of them. But these are the specifics. The price of the earrings is high. Ashley was in a lot of trouble because my grandparents apparently got them certified and had all the paperwork. Ashley was kicking and screaming the entire time, according to my father, who was at the station. She initially insisted that she had borrowed the earrings from a friend, but the police later showed her the video proof. Furthermore, she was unable to identify the acquaintance from whom she allegedly stole them. To exacerbate the situation, she was carrying the earrings in a customized, engraved box. As my father related, Ashley reportedly attempted to flee while the authorities were speaking to her and even bit the officer who attempted to stop her. She was consequently forced to stay the night in the holding cell at the station until she made amends. Admittedly, I found this to be quite entertaining. Yes, it's wrong to make fun of other people's poor luck, but I'm just a human. My dad's wife, Melissa, expressed her deep disappointment in all of us. She acknowledged that Ashley's actions were in a gray area, but she claimed we could have waited for her to return and avoided making things more serious. She halted the call and stopped answering her phone that evening when my oldest brother asked her why she didn't want the situation to get out of hand. Despite her inability to respond, she insisted that we make considerations for family. Melissa went on to say that diamonds should be worn rather than kept in a drawer, and that Ashley looked lovely in the earrings. This makes me think that she was aware Ashley had stolen my earrings from the beginning and just allowed it to happen. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate this. Melissa and my dad are divorcing. I hope this is resolved quickly because I don't think she's receiving much because they have a prenuptial agreement. Ashley, on the other hand, has been sending me nasty messages, just her standard fare. Although I don't read the messages, I haven't blocked her. Since we all think she would try to get in touch with us again, we want to use this as proof for a restraining order against her. They have left the house as of right now. Melissa is still pleading with my dad to change his mind. Dad stated that his children must always come first and that he cannot allow a thief to live in his home. He believes that Ashley poses a threat to my brothers and me. My brothers and I have blocked Melissa after she attempted to get in touch with us. I genuinely hope that this whole situation is ending because it has turned into quite a spectacle. I hope this is my final post on this site. I sincerely appreciate all of the people who've messaged and left comments inquiring about my well-being. Thank you so much for all of the best wishes and advice. I really appreciate it. Edit. I got several replies inquiring as to whether Ashley was unaware that the hallway was being filmed. It's possible that I never informed her outright. Hey, there's a security camera in here, but since they are visible and not concealed, I fail to see how anyone could confuse them for anything else. Some also question why the security camera was installed in the first place. Our neighborhood was the scene of several crimes a few years ago. I was frequently by myself at home at this time. From the moment I got home from school until my dad returned home from work, the house was equipped with security cameras since my father and brothers were too cautious. They were never removed. Many Reddit users messaged me after my first post, warning me to exercise caution since Ashley might try to take anything. They were correct though, so I made sure to confirm that the cameras were operational. I watched my husband marry my best friend while texting me working late, unraveling decades of lies to discover the truth. The text message shining in my car's darkness was synced. 2 p.m. Mary's Church. You have to see this. Unknown count. My hands shook as I held the steering wheel and watched visitors pass past my rain-streaked glass inside the ancient stone edifice. Right now, Eleanor, a cut-rate private investigator, is waiting in my car, wondering if I have finally lost my mind. Ryan, my spouse, reported to me he had a business conference in Chicago. The calendar read something like that. His secretary verified that as well. The hotel reservation revealed just that. But here I am, parked across from a Boston church, since some stranger chose to act as guardian angel or demon. I haven't made any decisions yet. This is crazy, I said to myself, but I'm already grabbing my sunglasses. As I get out of my car, heels clicking against damp ground, the church bells begin their sad call. Every stride seems like me moving toward my own execution. I slide in through the side door and settle behind a marble pillar. I smell lies and incense, and for a second, I find myself back 7 years ago on my own wedding day. Same church, different dreams. My heart stops when the organ begins to play. He is because there he is. Ryan's. My Ryan here. hands clasped in front of him, that familiar anxious tick in his jaw, standing at the altar in a tuxedo I have never seen before. Chicago is not where he resides. Here he is. The bride shows up at the door, and the ground moves underfoot. Extended dark hair, olive-based skin, that elegant walk I would know anywhere. Megan, my friend from third grade, best buddy. The woman who guided me in selecting my own wedding gown. Dearly beloved. As I watch them exchange vows, the priest's words vanish into white noise, promising to love each other till death. My spouse and best buddy part. As he assured me, like we all vowed to each other when we were young, buddies always. No secrets, no lies. I recall not leaving the chapel. The drive home is not clear from memory, but I recall the deciding moment. Sitting in our ideal, magazine-worthy kitchen, which Ryan insisted on redoing last year. I watched the sunset through windows that unexpectedly seemed like prison bars. There is buzz on my phone. Ryan running. Late for a conference, don't hold back. I grab his preferred scotch, the one he saves for special events. As I swallow, the liquid burns my throat, and I relish the suffering. Unlike all else in my life, it is real. Still another text from the unidentified number. Now you know. Regarding that, what are your plans? What am I going to do? I laugh. It sounds strange to me. Sharp, hazardous, like smashing glass. Opening my laptop, I begin to type. Dear Laura, with any luck, this email reaches you. I had been considering organizing that family reunion you have always wanted. Because betrayal is exactly that. It's about the complex dance of falsehoods that preceded it, not only about the deed itself. The deftly created alibis, the grins that have been taught, the little touches that were meaningless. And Ryan, my lovely, beautiful Ryan, has always danced rather well. But thus have I as well. I sip another scotch and grin. Let their honeymoon take place. Let them believe they are winners. Time is on my side. And I possess something higher than their adoration. I possess their faith. The sun sets totally, darkening me. For the first time today, though, I can see everything clearly. Each page of the old photo album seems weighty on my lap. Memories I no longer trust weighing me. Ryan, Megan, and I at 16 are spread out on my parents' yard. Ryan's arm circles both of us as we chuckle at some old joke. Like everything else about that summer, the corners of the picture show where Ryan from downstairs phones. I ordered Chinese. His footfalls each make my skin crawl in our residence. 3 days after his second wedding, he has been home behaving as though nothing had changed. That he did not simply destroy all we had created. As he walks into our bedroom with 2 plates of food I won't eat, I close the album. Remember when we used to get takeout with Megan every Friday? The words fly from my mouth before I could stop them, sharp as broken glass. Ryan's grin falls short of directly reaching his eyes. That was a lifetime ago. Was it? I get up and let the album thump to the floor with pleasant resonance, because she looked exactly the same 3 days ago. Just for a moment, his chopsticks stop midway to his mouth. Blink would cause you to miss it. Still, I see it. I am catching everything right now. Eleanor. He sets down his plate and approaches me with the same worried look he used on challenging clients. Has your drinking been? I chuckle. It sounds like the laughter of my mother following Dad's departure. That is your move? Gaslight the wife into thinking she is crazy? His hand reaches for mine as he replies, I'm worried about you. I pull back. When did it start? Burns my throat. Was it before our wedding? During? Tell me, Ryan, was I the backup plan or the cover story? You're not making any sense, he replies, but his left hand quickly sits. His tell when he lies. I have spent 7 years mastering his rhythms and compiling his routines. Funny how precisely you perceive things when you're searching for the holes. I was at St. Mary's on Tuesday. Words like smoke hang between us. Nice tux, by the way. Better than the one you wore at our wedding. The mask slides. Just for a moment, but it's plenty. His eyes turn cold and calculated. The Ryan I never let myself see is this one. It is not what you think. Don't. My voice is not trembling. I take great satisfaction in that. Don't offend me with excuses. I watched you marry my best friend while I was supposed to be your loving wife at home. What exactly should I think? Another clue as he rubs his hands through his hair. It's complicated. You don't grasp some of it. Like what? The joint bank accounts you opened? The property you bought together? Alternatively, maybe the fact your mother knew the whole time? That renders him unable. How could you? I go to the drawer and pull out the stack of papers I have gathered over the past 3 days. I am not the moron you believe me to be. You should really use better passwords than our anniversary date, though I guess that's meaningless now. Eleanor, please? He grabs for the docs. I control them. We can work this out. I will explain everything. Like you explained your business trip to Chicago. I laid the papers, bank statements, property titles, emails, on the bed. Or should we talk about the trust fund Laura established for your children with Megan? His face turns white. You had no right, said. I had every right. Raw and primitive, the scream tears from my throat. I am your wife. I was your friend. We grew up together. All three of us, and you. I pause, breathing hard. He is looking at me as though he has never seen me before. Perhaps he never did? Perhaps I never really seen myself either. Get out. Right now. My voice is solid. Definite. Likewise is true with my residence. Not now. One last document I retain is a power of attorney signed last year, when he was too busy managing our estate plan. You ought to really read what you signed, Ryan. Now, get out before I call Michael and have him escort you out. He bolts. Not out of fear, but rather because he understands this is a starting point. For that, he knows me sufficiently. From the floor, I grab the photo album and use my finger to follow our younger faces. We seem to be naive and rather joyful. Such outstanding liars, every one of us. The cafe Megan and I used to keep secrets in seems smaller now. Perhaps that is the weight of what I am about to undertake. Alternatively, maybe everything from my past is diminishing and losing relevance with every fresh betrayal I come across. Still sporting the twin of her wedding band, Megan glides into the seat across from me. Seeing it tastes like acid in my coffee, she adds, her fingers tensely stroking the rim of her unethered latte. I didn't think you would come. Funny. I didn't you'd marry my husband. The words come out softer than I intended, which somehow makes them cut deeper. She stumbles. Eleanor, I slide the bank statements across the table like cards in a rigged game. Did you know about the trust fund? The one Laura configured for next generations? Her face loses hue, not from remorse, but from wrath. Quite interesting. What trust fund? That is indeed surprising now. Her hands quivering slightly. I watch her go over the papers. $3 million, I say. Set aside for the grandchildren Laura always wanted. Guess I was not producing them fast enough. This can't be right. Megan pulls the contaminated-looking papers away. Ryan said the marriage was only a formality for his inheritance. He said, I chuckle, and it sounds like shattered glass. That he loved you, Megan? That I was cold, distant, career-obsessed? That's exactly what he told his mother about me last month. She stares fiercely. How come you aware of that? Because I have spent the last week learning just how completely my husband, our husband, has been playing us both. The waiter walks over, but we both wave him away, without looking up. There is more, I said, pulling out my phone. Want to hear Ryan talking about property investments with Laura? The ones using your family's real estate contacts? Megan's voice falters as my family's. Ryan knew well, before he ever asked her out, that her mother, Grace, runs one of the biggest real estate companies in Boston. Did you ever wonder why he chose us? Asks the question hanging between us like fog. The two best friends who'd never bet each other. The perfect cover story. Stop. Megan gets up fast, and her chair scrapes the floor. I understand you trying to hurt me since I hurt you. I deserve it, but sit down. My voice never changes? The best portion hasn't yet been heard. She sits more from shock at my voice than from compliance. Remember that summer internship Ryan helped you get at Grace's firm? The one that convinced your mother he was such a wonderful guy? I slipped one more document across the table. Look at the date on that property transfer. Her hands shake as she reads. This is the signature of my mother, but she would never sell her prime investment property for half its worth. She had no idea she did. Check the signatures of the witnesses. Megan recognizes her own handwriting and crumples her face. I was just notarizing documents. Ryan said it was practice for my license while I was planning our wedding. You were unintentionally helping him steal from your own mother. The truth tastes terrible on my mouth. He played us both Megan. The only difference was that I worked it out before he could take everything. For the first time since she sat down, she glances up at me. Very definitely stares at me. What are you going to do? I get to stand and gather the paperwork. Invalid question. The actual one is, what are we going to do? We? I draw one last item, a USB disk with what I have found, and say, you have two choices. Keep playing his game and lose everything, or help me take him down. Your mother's company, my savings, Laura's reputation. He's built his entire plan on the presumption that we would never compare notes. Megan fixes her eyes on the drive, as though it could bite. If this gets out, everything burns. I run my palm over hers and feel the matching wedding band. But we will be the ones holding the matches this time. She tightens her fingers over the disc, and I catch a flash of the buddy I used to know. Fierce, devoted, relentless when crossed. When should we begin? I smile, and it feels true for the first time in weeks. Our already have. From the kitchen counter, 3 empty wine bottles mock me. Not my typical poison, but tonight is not usual. Ryan's workplace papers are scattered around our dining room table. Our wedding present from Laura, like bits of a jigsaw I never wanted to solve. Another Ryan message on my phone brightens it. Please let us discuss this sensibly. Logical. Like the method he erected this palace of lies? Like the deliberate accuracy with which he decided on his marks? Once more buzzing is the phone. Megan, this one time. Grace is inquiring. We must get going more quickly. I turn it off, but my hands continue to shingle. The scope of what we intend at last strikes me. This goes beyond simply calling attention to Ryan now. We are discussing ruining families, names, life. The doorbell sounds. I wonder momentarily about ignoring it. Then, though, I hear the key in the lock. Ryan is the only person with that key except one other. Michael walks into the dining room and absorbs the anarchy. Jesus, Eli, when's the last time you slept? I faintly point at the papers. Did you know Ryan's father committed himself? Michael goes still. What? I pull out the newspaper clipping I discovered hidden in Laura's bank records 10 years ago, right after Ryan graduated law school. Officially, it was a hunting accident. Unofficially, I push forward a stack of bank records. He found Laura and Ryan had been embezzling years from his company. Christ. Michael settles onto a chair. Does everyone else know? Just the person who has been sending me anonymous tips. I tapped the table burner phone. They sent me this today. I slipped over duplicates of William Mitchell's suicide note. He tried to expose them, Michael. He tried to stop them. And they, my voice failures. Michael reaches for my hand, Eli. But I back off. I'm becoming them. The words taste like ash. I'm turning exactly into exactly what I hate from all these plans for revenge, for justice. No, you're not. Michael says with stern voice, you're shielding Megan's company, your future, Grace's. Am I? I get up, moving slowly. Or am I just so focused on destroying Ryan that I don't care who gets caught in the crossfire? Because right now, I'm seated here planning to expose everything at the family reunion, knowing it will devastate people who had nothing to do with this. Like someone? I grab one of the wine bottles, not caring that it's empty. Like Ryan's sister's kids, who'll lose their college money when I uncover Laura's financial machinations. Grace's staff might lose their jobs should the company's reputation suffer. Like William Mitchell, who died trying to do the right thing, while eyes plot complex revenge scenarios like some comic book villain. Michael pauses silently for a protracted length of time. He stands up, then grabs the bottle from my hand. You wish to know how you differ from them? I turn aside, but he keeps on. You're torturing yourself about the moral consequences of your actions here at 03:00 in the morning. They're sleeping peacefully, counting their money and planning their next con. That does not make it right. No, it doesn't. He begins systematically gathering and sorting the documents. But it means you have a choice. You can expose everything dramatically at the reunion, as you planned, or we do this the right way, legally, carefully. William Mitchell's suicide note is here, he said. We finish what Ryan's father started, but we do it smart. We first guard the innocent parties. Another message from the unknown source comes from the burner phone buzzing. Inquire of Laura about the offshore accounts. I fix my eyes on the message, then on the anarchy, all over my dining room table. 7 years of marriage, a lifetime of friendliness, generations of lies, all leading to this moment. I say at last, okay, show me how I should do this right. Michael nods and gets out his phone. First, we should speak with a financial fraud expert. I know a man. I hold his arm and wait. Before we do this, I need to know something. Are you helping me because I'm right, or just because I'm your sister? He fixes my gaze consistently. Both and neither. I'm helping you since someone needs to stop them, and you're strong enough to do it without becoming them. I examine the empty wine bottles, the strewn papers, the proof of my almost plunge into their realm of control and retribution. He may be right. Perhaps another method to burn it all down is here. Michael's friend, a lawyer, keeps chatting, but I fixed on the one single sheet of paper in front of me, a name list. Mainly children. Trustees of which our scheme would fall apart if we carried on. The offshore accounts are just the beginning, James Harrison continues, distributing more papers over his mahogany desk. Laura Mitchell's financial web runs at least 3 generations of both families. How many people would be affected? My voice sounds far, even to myself. Directly, roughly 30, indirectly. He shrugs. We're talking about tearing down a decades-long program. The knock-on effects might affect hundreds. Michael forward leans. But we can prove the fraud readily. The issue is whether we should. James runs over the name list. Some of these trust funds are supporting education and medical treatment. I get up quickly and head to the window. Stop. Boston spreads out below, unconcerned about the bomb we are about to blow. Another way has to be found. There is buzz on my phone. Megan. Grace came upon the missing property records. Michael adds, reading across my shoulder. She's calling Laura today. We're running out of time. Anyhow, everything falls apart if Grace confronts Laura straight. I then go back to James. How long would it take to get protection for the innocent parties? Weeks, maybe months. We would want the door of the office explodes open. Laura Mitchell is there, always flawless, but her eyes are crazy. I should have known you'd run to Michael, she says, sneers. James begins. How did you? My daughter works in your building, James. Did Eleanor tell you that part? How many families she's ready to destroy for her revenge? That's rich coming from you, Michael adds, standing and straying between us. Laura pays me more attention than him. You think you're protecting people? William thought the same thing. Look where that got him. The chamber falls quiet. Even the metropolitan noise appears to fade. What did you just say? My hands, knuckles white, clutch the rear of the chair. Oh, did your anonymous friend tell you everything? Laura asks with a stern smile. William tried to fix our plans, rerouting money to safeguard the beneficiaries, just as you are planning. He did not just discover them. And you stopped him. The bits fit together. The hunting accident was, she says just that, then pauses. An accident. Her eyes dart away. The point is, Eleanor, some buildings cannot be taken down without destroying everything they support. You're not just fighting Ryan or me. You're fighting generations of carefully balanced arrangements. I spit. Arrangements built on lies and theft. Built on necessity, she says, getting closer. Did Ryan tell you why he married you? Your family's 3 generations of judges and prosecutors, 3 generations of perfect shield. Once more, buzz comes from my phone. On the screen, Grace's name shows. Take the call, Laura urges gently. Listen to Grace. Discover what her daughter's been hiding. Watch another family break. Or, she pulls out an envelope. We might talk about substitutes. Michael says, Eli, don't. What alternatives? My voice is firm, but my heart bangs against my ribs. Laura says, a clean break. A generous settlement. The innocent parties stay protected. Laura lays the envelope on James's desk. Everyone wins. Michael says, everyone except justice, quickly. Laura chuckle. Ask Eleanor what she actually wants, justice or peace. My phone keeps vibrating. These days, Megan's messages complement Grace's calls. From the desk, the name list stares up at me. Children, families, futures. How long do I have to decide? The words taste like surrender. Laura steps to the door until Grace finishes reading those papers. Choose deliberately, Eleanor. Unlike William, you still have options. She goes, and the office seems both bigger and more stifling. You cannot seriously be thinking about this, Michael says. I pick up the nameless, then my still buzzing phone. What if her right is what if trying to correct this just makes everything worse? Not justice, but that's fear talking, maybe. I glance at James. But what if terror is trying to convey something vital? One last time the phone buzzes, then goes quiet. It is too late to stop whatever Grace found now. I pick Laura's envelope and feel the weight of choices not yet taken. I need to talk to Megan, I say at last, before we decide anything else. Because sometimes, I continue, I'm learning revenge isn't about who you're willing to hurt, but who you're willing to spare. Before me sits the Mitchell family estate, its windows shining like evening caution signals. All the actors gathered for what they believe to be a surprise anniversary party for Laura and her second husband. Cars fill the circular driveway. Michael says, standing next to me and clutching the bag full of all the evidence. Every paper, every recording, last chance to back out. Megan appears at my other shoulder and says, they're already inside, her voice taut. Grace is with them. Ryan is watching the door like a hawk. I change my black dress, funeral suitable, though they are not yet aware of it. Did you check the exits? James has people stationed at every door, Michael says, glancing at his watch. No one leaves until everything's disclosed once you start. Laura's envelope weighs against my ribs, nestled into my garment. Her offer of silence, of protection for the innocent, weighs against me. Still not opened, still conceivable. We arrive in the kitchen, where caterers are busy, without realizing they are presenting Mitchell Dynasty Last Supper. Ryan finds me right away. His face flickers between skepticism and relief. Eleanor. He comes near me, carrying a champagne glass. I didn't suppose you would show up? And miss Laura's party? My smile feels like broken glass. Would not dream of it. His gaze flies to Megan, to Michael, to the briefcase. I see the instant he discovers something is wrong, but Laura's voice breaks through the hushes of discussion. Everyone, kindly collect in the main hall. The audience moves, carrying with it us. I notice flashes of familiar faces. Grace, pale but understated. Laura's second husband, blind and radiant. Ryan's sister, gripping hands of her children. The young ones. God, the sons. Laura pulls out her glass. Thanks all for showing up to actually I forward, my voice carrying across the unexpected silence. I'd like to say something first. Ryan comes toward me, but Michael blocks his way. Megan takes a seat, close to Grace. Laura says, Eleanor, her voice low, give great thought to what you are doing. I open the still sealed envelope she handed me. I have thought about it. For weeks, I've thought about nothing else. I turn to face the room. About justice and protection. About who deserves the truth and who deserves mercies. Eli. Ryan's voice now clearly reflects actual terror. Whatever you think you know, I know everything. I open the briefcase, but not yet. I do not remove the papers. About William's death? About the trust funds? About your two marriages? Laura's schemes? Laura's lies to keep this house of cards standing? The space comes alive and whispers. Grace marches onward, her face ashen. Megan, Grace replies with shaky voice. I apologize, Mom. Megan's voice breaks. I knew nothing. Not until Eleanor showed me. Clutching her children tighter, Ryan's sister asks, Showed you what? What are you doing? I look at the kids. Their innocent futures waiting on my next words. Their perplexed faces. The envelope from Laura sears on my flesh. The truth, I say quietly, is that I came here tonight to destroy everything, to expose decades of fraud and manipulation, to get justice for everyone who's been hurt by the Mitchell family's lies. I get the first paper, William's actual suicide note. Laura moves rather silently. But standing here, looking at all of you, I glance back at Ryan. I understand something worse than being misled. Something worse than being deceived. Michael says, Eleanor, his voice tight. But I continue. The very thing you're fighting against is becoming. I touch it to Laura's envelope. The paper catches fast, and I drop it into the briefcase. I find a match in my handbag. No. Michael jumps forward, but it's too late. Years of careful investigation burning to ash. With it burns my opportunity at justice, at revenge, at everything I thought I wanted. Since at times, the best retribution is redemption, rather than destruction. Laura sits across from me on the marble island, both of us wet from the sprinklers, watching cops cart away boxes of evidence. The actual evidence, not the decoy files I burned, painted Laura's perfect kitchen in alternating red and blue. Copies? I answer softly. Everything in that briefcase? Merely copies. The originals arrived at the FBI 1 hour ago. Her immaculate nails pound against her coffee cup. You chose this moment on purpose. The party here. Family gathering. Like father, like daughter-in-law. I slide William's real suicide note across the desk. He planned to disclose everything at your anniversary party too, didn't he? Prior to the hunting mishap. The drumming stops. Michael is watching with grim enjoyment through the glass. Ryan being guided to a police car. Laura's voice quivering. You don't understand what you've done, she continues. Those trust funds were being protected. Pulling out my phone, I show her the court orders. Every innocent beneficiary has been lawfully detached from the false accounts. The kids will hang on to their college money. The treatment keeps on medical level. I sense actual dread in her eyes for the first time. How? Much is leaning closer, I add. I had 3 weeks after you presented me the envelope. 3 weeks where you felt you would win. Did you truly believe I was doing nothing for that period? Much we hear activity at the door. Grace walks in, followed by federal officers. Her eyes connect with Laura's. Grace states simply, you killed William when he tried to protect my daughter from your schemes. Laura stands so fast that her chair falls over. That's absurd. Much as I interrupted, William was going to expose how you used Megan to access Grace's company records. Then how you manipulated Ryan into marrying us both to maintain your financial facade. Everything I accomplished served this family only. Laura tears. Megan answers, looking at the doorway, tear-stained but steady. No, everything you did was for yourself. And today, we all know the reason. Laura goes somewhat motionless as I slide one final document across the counter. An old picture. William wasn't merely aiming to reveal the hoax, was he? I inquire, seeing her expression crumple. He found something else. About the true father of Ryan. About why you so sorely needed the connections of the Carter family. Mom? Mom, what's happening? Ryan's voice calls from outside. Laura leaps for the picture, but Grace is faster. Her shriek resounds in the abruptly quiet kitchen. Looking at the picture, Grace adds, That's my father, staring at Laura. 37 years passed. I say, 9 months before Ryan was born. The truth hangs between us like smoke, decades of control, all to conceal one desperate affair, thereby preserving the Mitchell family's pristine image. You destroyed everything? Laura says quietly, No. I stand, compiling the last of the papers. You lost everything. The moment you chose lies above love. William fought to save all of us, and today, at last, he has? What precisely do you mean? Much one last time, I grab my phone and show her the message chain from an unidentified number, from a dead man, scheduled emails, planned to arrive years after his death. I meet her eyes. William knew he might not survive trying to expose the truth, so he left breadcrumbs for whoever was brave enough to follow them. I wasn't his first victim, Laura. However, I am your last. Ryan is watching via the glass, finally seeing dawning on his face as Grace hands him the picture as the cops walk to escort her out. Was it worth it? Laura wonders as they lead her away, burnishing everything to save a dead man's honor? Of Megan and Grace, now free from manipulation, of William, who passed away trying to protect us all. I consider the children above their futures now safe. I add gently, some things are worth burning for. Michael squeezes my shoulder as the sun rises over the Mitchell estate, casting everything in gold. Beside me, Sirens fade. You okay? 30 years of lies collapsing in Laura's path. I see her go into a police cruiser. No, I say honestly, but I will be. Sometimes the truth simply tells you who you really are. Sometimes it doesn't set you free. Ryan's last box from his study remains unopened on my kitchen counter. Autumn leaves abound in my backyard, where 3 children previously swore to be friends forever through the window. Megan says, Grace wants to meet both of us. My phone buzzes. Laura and Ryan, both convicted, ended the trial yesterday. The headlines claim justice. The society pages labeled it scandal. Neither fairly portrayed the facts. Expecting more evidence, more secrets, I raised the top from the box, only to see an ancient video camera. The kind we used summer before college, when everything seemed possible. Megan stands there, appearing smaller somehow. More like the girl I used to know than the lady who helped sort everything. The doorbell rings. Holding out an identical camera, she adds, I found my two, from Mom's attic. Both of us set them on the counter. These relics of who we used to be neither of us reaches to switch on. Did you come across Ryan's comment? She inquires. No. I pour us both coffee. This is a habit from earlier when friendship was straightforward. Did you? Much her giggle sounds brittle. He said he loved both. Actually believed it, I guess. Sliding her cup across the counter. That's Ryan, I remark, living his own truth, even when it's a lie. Megan strokes one softly, while the afternoon light catches the cameras creating twin shadows. Before Grace arrives, she continues, we should observe them? Before we choose our course of action, she nods. We both know Grace's meeting is about the future of her business, about trust and second chances, about whether some bridges can be rebuilt after they have burnt. It is not only about reconciliation. Ryan behind the camera, narrating our last summer together, behind which we are young, laughing, whole. Ryan connects the first camera to my laptop. The screen flickers to life. Before college. Before decisions. Before we knew how love and lies might wear the same face. Megan says unexpectedly, stop. Then looks at that moment. The picture freezes on our younger selves, sharing some forgotten joke. But it's Ryan's reflection in the window that catches my eye. The way he watches us both. Scheming, even then. I understand he simply showed us who we already were, not destroyed us. What do you imply? Megan queries. You always yearned for adventure. I was always yearning control. He only turned those facts into weapons. The second camera sits dark, uninterested. Certain facts, I'm discovering, don't need to be seen to be understood. Megan's coffee sits unethered, going cold. Now we choose, I say. Between easy and true, not between right and wrong. Grace grabs my hand before Megan moves to answer the doorbell once more. She says, I'm sorry. Not for loving him. For not remembering how to love you first. Remembering Laura's last remarks during the trial. Love makes liars of us all. I squeeze back. Maybe, I say, Megan. We quit trying to change the past. Perhaps we should start something fresh. She nods, knowing what I'm not saying. About Grace's company, about second chances. About how occasionally revenge isn't about destroying what was, but constructing what may be. Laura plans her appeal somewhere in a prison cell. In another, Ryan writes letters we will never read. Life moves forward, messy and imperfect. Grace opens the door and notes how she carries herself now, straighter, stronger, free from decades of manipulation. The autumn wind scatters more leaves over the yard. I leave the cameras on the counter unaltered. Certain memories are better lived than remembered. Some facts are not revisited necessary. Megan and I glance at one another, remembering other documents, other plans, other decisions as Grace piles papers across my kitchen table. Plans for rebuilding, forward movement, prepare? Grace questions. Of Laura, creating barriers to hide truths never worth preserving. Of William, planting truth bombs to detonate years after his death. Of Ryan, loving so fiercely, he forgot how to love honestly. Indeed, I say, and I mean it. Sometimes the best kind of retribution is one in which one gains freedom rather than exacting revenge. I blocked my aunt and cousin to stop their harassment after my partner, and I refused to give up our baby for adoption. I am 8 months along in my pregnancy, 24F. And ever since I told my aunt and cousin, they have been causing me problems. We already love our girl, and neither my spouse nor I intend to part with her. However, my aunt wants me to give my cousin, who has been infertile for the previous 5 years, my child. To put that in perspective, my aunt has been a motherly role to my sister and me since our mother died when we were very little. Throughout our lives, we have maintained a close relationship with our aunt and cousin, and we have made an effort to help my cousin during her infertility issues. Being a Mormon who frequently goes to church and has a strict, narrow-minded perspective on morality, values, and leading a decent life, my aunt is also highly religious. According to her, a child should have a loving, caring mother, a father who provides for them, and a solid religious foundation. My spouse feels that my child will grow up in our home confused and misinformed because we both have full-time jobs and occupations, and she is not a Christian. She claims that the child won't have the right care and identity because of our differing religious beliefs. She worries that, in such a setting, our child's welfare won't be given priority and that they might choose a bad, immoral route. She feels that my cousin, who works from home part-time, and her spouse are far more qualified to give my child a caring household that is infused with religion and morals. My cousin and aunt have moved to a new house where they are unaware of the address, and I have blocked them from most forms of communication. To be sure they won't have any influence over my medical choices, my boyfriend and I also got married in a private ceremony. My aunt has been more hostile to me than the other one. She even yelled and argued when she arrived at my former flat one day in an attempt to teach me about the circumstances. She tried to get me to meet her at a cafe close to her church so we could talk about the baby in a phony, nice voice. She persisted even after I told her that we had nothing to talk about and that I was keeping the baby. Eventually, I had to tell the apartment manager and hide in my flat. It took her around 30 minutes to leave. Additionally, my aunt has involved her religious acquaintances, who occasionally leave me angry voicemails and texts. In contrast, my cousin has been more reserved around me, but she is dealing with trauma and despair following the preterm labor that resulted in the death of her baby daughter at 30 weeks of pregnancy. She has been participating in motherhood-related forums and commenting frequently on social media. Rumor has it, though, that she has been attempting to conceive through these groups and has been expelled from numerous of them as a result of her actions. She has been accused of pressuring widows and young moms for their children, which has devastated her. My cousin, who sees my baby girl as a replacement for her late child, is reportedly waiting for me to give birth because she is yearning for a child to fix her family. My aunt and cousin both seem to think that I will eventually give up my child because I will become overburdened with parental duties. They believe that I will allow my cousin to be adopted by her husband. My aunt maintains that I may have another child in the future and claims that since we are family, delivering my kid to my cousin shouldn't be as difficult as it may be. She thinks that since I'm still young and intend to go to graduate school after working for a time, this should be a simple decision. It seems like my cousin wants to get back in touch with me like we did before I became pregnant. But I'm not going to talk to her again until after I give birth. This is to assess her emotional state and avoid adding to my pregnant stress. Growing up, I liked her more than my aunt, and had always been there for her during her infertility ordeal. However, her recent actions and thoughts have startled me and caused me to worry about my safety. Since we got married in secret this year, my partner and I are organizing a large wedding celebration for next year. I'm not sure if my aunt or cousin would be able to make it or be invited. Aside from people who are close to my aunt and cousin, I currently get a lot of support from both sides of my family. In a year, though, I'm not sure if that support will still be there or how my relationship with my aunt and cousin will change. I have missed a few family occasions that I knew they would be at, but I don't want to permanently miss out on pleasant times and family get-togethers. After my baby is born, I'm not sure how things will work out with my aunt and cousin, and what problems might result from this circumstance. I was raised in a culture that viewed starting a family and having children as a reward for leading a morally upright life. Even if you were truly having difficulties, you were rarely given judgment-free assistance. and were frequently harshly criticized for any perceived flaws. Adoptions were a big part of my church's work, and I think they still are. The birth mothers were frequently young, unmarried, single, or in some other way viewed as ungodly. If birth moms decided to raise their children, the church would intimidate and stress them regarding their future and the fate of their offspring. These infants were frequently given to Mormon couples who were unable to conceive or who wished to look altruistic by saving an innocent child and providing the biological mother with an opportunity to fix her life and lead a fulfilling life. I am now extremely cautious of this practice since it terrifies me. First adoption update. My aunt and cousin, who are also active members, and I spoke with the local church head about the matter. After a lengthy conversation, he first disregarded my worries as family disputes and recommended that I seek counseling. We told him about my cousin's false dreams of adopting my baby, whom she feels would grow up in a decent household, and how she is still struggling with the trauma of the death of her baby. We also informed him of the serious disruption and stress my aunt has been inflicting by feeding into these hopes and nagging me on her behalf. The pastor of the church expressed empathy for me and admitted that he knew what my cousin was going through because she couldn't conceive. He promised to get in touch with my aunt and cousin to find out their version of events. I had another conversation with him today. He was worried that I had stopped talking to my aunt and cousin, especially since I moved away, and claimed they would like to talk to me. I questioned him about what they had said and told him that their actions with regard to my baby had influenced my choice to break off communication. He said that because of her health, my cousin's 120F treatments are unlikely to be successful. Therefore, she had talked to a church therapist and was considering adoption as a way to have a family. Despite what my cousin had been thinking, I made it clear to him that I was not giving up my kid. After stating that he understood, he started to inquire about my personal situation. He then recommended that we seek therapy services and made another attempt to arrange a meeting between us and my aunt and cousin. I informed him that just now, I didn't feel comfortable with that. He suggested that I at least give my cousin a call once, and if I was too afraid to do it myself, he would meet with my aunt on Sunday. That was the end of our call. In the upcoming days, I'll update this site with his comments. Change. Since I don't want to make a completely new post for it, I will also change this one to make updates easier to discover. Edit. I don't like his response, and I don't like the pressure he's giving me to get back in touch with my aunt and cousin. Even though he claims to understand my worries, I think he is being condescending and attempting to pressure us to settle our differences too soon. Since he has religious authority and influence over my aunt and cousin, my boyfriend and I first decided it would be worthwhile to try to get in touch with him. When we speak on the phone again, I'll listen to his response and figure out how to get him to give my concerns more weight. To be clear, I didn't give him any personal information, and I don't have any intentions to see my aunt and cousin in person. We do not reside in Utah, and we have already gotten in touch with legal assistance. Update 2. I made the decision to message and unblock my cousin. I informed her that there would be no discussion about my partner and I keeping our child. I made it plain that I don't feel comfortable with her husband, or my aunt being part in my child's life, and urged her to get good therapy if she hasn't already. She still hasn't replied. No matter what she says, she will no longer be involved in my child's life, and our connection will not be the same as it was. Third update. The birth of my kid and other endeavors, while I heal and take care of her, have kept me quite busy over the past 3 months. I hadn't had a chance to update until now, despite logging on to Reddit a few times. My baby is almost 4 months old, and I am currently 25. Time goes by so quickly. She is doing great and makes us very happy. She is maturing so quickly, and I enjoy taking walks with her. I have begun my job search and intend to return to work shortly. I appreciate all of your best wishes and concerns. I hope the Thanksgiving holiday season is going well for everyone. Here is the long-awaited update regarding my cousin and aunt. My aunt and cousin have been quiet since my last update. My aunt contacted me in August using a different phone after my cousin failed to reply to my SMS. She inquired about my health and whether I had given birth yet. She expressed concern for my babies and my well-being during our brief conversation because I had cut off a lot of contact with my family and quit my work. My aunt told me that they had been attempting to adopt a child through their church ties, but had not yet been successful, most likely because they had only recently begun the process. When I inquired about my cousin, my aunt said that my cousin's husband's past would be an issue when I questioned legitimate adoption agency. My aunt went on to talk about how the white birth rate is declining and how people are purposefully avoiding motherhood, something I was unaware of. Then she became upset, bringing up irrelevant subjects like ninth-month abortions, and asked if I still wanted the baby. She is a staunch pro-lifer. I told her again that I really wanted to keep my child. She went on to discuss how my cousin, who was in her early 30s, was growing older and how her nest to it was still empty. My aunt wanted me to at least share the joy by letting my cousin spend time with and be a part of my daughter's life. I informed her that because of their previous actions, this would not be feasible. I was afraid my cousin would attempt to play the part of a mother and let her illusions to take over once more. I refused to accept my aunt's insistence that my cousin was attempting to better herself and had received church therapy. She went on to ask if I knew of any resources or people who might be interested in adopting a child. I informed her that I didn't, and suggested that my cousin and her spouse exercise caution and patience while they prepare to become parents. Given that everyone around them is hitting motherhood milestones, my aunt stressed how crucial it was for my cousin and her husband to have children, not just because they deserve them, but also for their reputation. She pushed me on when I might have my next child and changed the topic to my future family plans. After this surprise pregnancy, my aunt informed me that family planning was crucial and asked if she and my cousin might be involved the next time. I became weary of the talk as the call continued, and her typical behavior became more noticeable. Thank goodness. She ended the call before me because she had an event to attend. I like that my sister is there to inform me of any updates pertaining to my former church as well as what's going on with my aunt, cousin, and other family issues. My sister said my aunt was telling the truth about my cousin. Although my cousin still has severe depressed episodes, her general mental health appears to have considerably improved from her worst moments. Her lack of children and her tense relationships with my sister and myself might make her feel extremely empty at times. Since many of their local alternatives have closed, my cousin and her husband are also looking into the possibilities of finding an IVF doctor overseas in the hopes of a miracle. My cousin seems to still think of my kid as something she lost, but she has been pleading for forgiveness of her sins and hopes that God will soon provide her children, for obvious reasons. My side of the family and I have opted to miss Thanksgiving in a few days. I intend to go back to work shortly, most likely following the holidays. I've already made daycare plans and taken all the required safety measures. All things considered, the future appears bright once more. I appreciate your support, everyone. If you have any questions concerning parenting, Mormonism, my family, etc., please contact me. An intriguing aside would be that my aunt has expressed her readiness for the grandma life and has taken a strong interest in my cousin's family starting endeavors. When we were younger, my aunt also said that because my sister and I lost our mother when we were very little, she would be like a grandmother to our future children. She must not be as excited about us as she once was.